88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, the host of What to Watch Weekends, joined by a guest today. When are you ever going to be labeled as the official co-host of the show? Or
I don't know, kind of on and off, I guess.
On and off.
Hi, I'm Walter.
Hi, Walter. Welcome. Water.
Water.
I don't know why
Walter.
I just keep saying that because it's such an easy joke to make.
Easy.
But speaking of things that are easy, our topic tonight is not going to be easy to talk about. Wonderful segue, if I say so myself, because I'm biased towards myself. At any rate, for any regular listeners of mine, last week, I believe on Sunday, I attempted to talk about a TV show known as The Dekalog here on What to Watch Weekends. The results weren't perfect, and I, in good conscience, ended the show early and was like, if you tune in on Saturday, I will attempt to review it once again. So that's what we're going to be doing. Rather than talking about stuff tied into the topic this week on What to Watch Wednesdays, I figured Dekalog is big enough and crazy enough, and it's something that I've recently discovered I really like, that it felt right to kind of just circumvent this stuff. You look like you're about to burst out laughing, Walter.
Oh, nothing. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, I suppose we should start off with the introduction to Dekalog for you, Walter, and for the audience.
Yeah.
So I should probably introduce the director.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I didn't know what this was until literally just a couple of days ago.
Right.
And so I've done, a little bit of research.
Okay.
And I found out it's a bigger thing than what I originally thought it was. But go on.
Yeah. So to start off, the director of this TV show, it was one director, a Polish director by the name of Krzysztof Kozlowski. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but his name is Polish and I don't speak Polish, so big apologies for that. I tried very hard to find the correct pronunciation, and anytime I found it, I just couldn't get enough practice in to get to a point where I'm accurately pronouncing it. So we're going to call him Krzysztof Kozlowski, because it's close enough.
That's fair.
Essentially, Krzysztof Kozlowski directed The Dekalog, a 10-episode anthology TV show set in and around the town of Warsaw, Poland, during communist occupation of Poland. So, do you know your history at all, or should we probably not touch that?
A little, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to ask if the communist occupation of Poland took place after World War II or not.
It did.
Okay.
It lasted up until about the fall of the Berlin Wall, so.
Right, so and that was in the 80s?
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives me a good idea of when this was taking place. Okay, cool. So in between that period of time, and the Dekalog, the Deca part is very important because there's 10 episodes, and each episode is centered around one of the 10 commandments from the religious texts. Dekalog uses the Roman Catholic version of the 10 commandments because that's what Poland is predominantly, Roman Catholic, which is something I kind of figured out while watching the show. I don't know. Did you really know that, or?
A little. I'm not a very religious person,
right?
But I know the 10 Commandments, like, vaguely.
Right. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'll introduce each one before we get to their respective episodes. So.
I had to Google them like an hour ago, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Well, our bases will be completely covered. But thank you for your honesty there, Walter. I should mention before we jump into this that I have two big things. First of all, if you want to watch the Dekalog after this episode, I'll still bring it up each time we talk about each episode, but for a kind of in-depth breakdown, you can either watch episodes 1 through 4 and then 7 through 10 on YouTube. Those episodes are on YouTube. 5 and 6 would not be on YouTube. And they would be on the Criterion channel, Criterion Collections, like, it's for cinephiles is the official term for it. It's the, like, obscure, artsy streaming service hosted by Criterion Collection. But those are, like, the movie-length versions of the episodes. And then, like, if you want to watch all 10 episodes back-to-back, the only complete way I've found is watching them through, like, maybe a foreign streaming service or by acquiring the Criterion Collection, which has all 10 episodes in like a DVD or Blu-ray box set, which is how I watch them. So
Okay.
I just wanted to throw that out there. I'll probably bring it up as it goes along and talk about why each thing is where it is, but just kind of general overview. I also wanted to say that in contrast to last week's attempt at reviewing these, I actually wanted to set out a real goal for this review, and that is because you're not religious and you're not as familiar with it, although you told me that you've done some research.
Yeah.
As in,
I watched a couple of days ago, I watched like the first 15, maybe 20 minutes of the first episode, which the first episode on YouTube is what, about an hour?
about an hour, yeah.
Yeah. I watched it in bed as I was going to sleep.
Right.
And it was pretty interesting what I've seen so far.
Right.
And then about an hour ago, I watched a 20-minute video essay just kind of overviewing the whole series. So
Right. So you've got at least a surface level understanding of them. So that's good to know. But my goal with this review is to convince you that it's a worthwhile effort to maybe go out of your way to watch it eventually.
yeah, I'm for sure going to go finish watching, at least make an attempt to watch the rest of it. Yeah.
The rest of episode 1?
Yeah, the rest of episode 1.
At the very least.
At the very least,
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough. So I suppose we'll see how far I can get you into like being, I suppose, building off of that interest already. I want to see where you're at by the time we're done talking about each episode.
Okay.
Which is why I'm also going to say that I won't be spoiling episodes of this show, because this is one of the few times I'll make an exception. We always intend to include spoilers here on What to Watch Weekends, but in good conscience, I kind of want to recommend people just go watch these episodes and experience them for themselves and just kind of get
Yeah, I liked going into it blind.
Yeah.
And really not knowing what I was getting into.
Right.
And then getting into it and then being like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fair enough. I'll since we're reviewing them, I can't give you like the guarantee that I'll leave you completely blind, but I won't spoil the big twists of the individual episodes, if that makes sense. Like if there's a big twist in there, I'm not gonna ruin it for you. You'll be completely blind to it when it pops up. And the current trend will be that it will blow your mind. Now that we've spent about 10 minutes going over the basics, I think we should mention, just before we start, that each episode has at least one person who lives in this brutalist architecture style apartment complex, again, because of the communist occupation of Poland. Very brutalist, very stone.
They're communist block apartments.
Communist block.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So, without further ado, let us jump into Dekalog 1 from 1989, which is concerning the first of the 10 Commandments. I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, which in layman's terms basically means don't idolize the wonders of the world over God.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Pretty self-explanatory. For the basic plot summary, we have a young Pavel, a young boy, living in this communist block with his father in an apartment. He goes about his daily life interacting with his father and his aunt. His father is, I believe, a math professor.
He was a computer scientist.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Something like that,
So,
yeah.
essentially, it's a very simple daily life until Pavel asks his father, "Did you get me ice skates for Christmas?" And his father's like, "Dang it, you caught me, Pavel." "Yes, I did." And Pavel's like, "Can I use them on the lake near our apartment that's been frozen over?" And his father's like, "Sure, if we can calculate how much weight it will hold." And they do the calculations. It's like someone 3 times the weight of a small boy, Pavel, can be on this ice and have it not break. So he's like, "Go ahead and go out there." Then tragedy strikes. You could probably guess what.
Yeah.
I mean, did you get to that part in the episode?
I
at least?
did.
Okay. So you know that the ice does in fact break.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Rather unfortunately. So this is an interesting start because you look like you're about to say
I
something.
should say the episode is about the professor having this like basically supercomputer at the time that is able to predict like all sorts of different outcomes.
Yeah.
And how he, what am I trying to, like, idolizes those outcomes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're hitting the nail on the head right now. That's like, no need to worry about not articulating. You're articulating it perfectly, because that is exactly the point of the episode. Because of the commandment being, don't have anything before God.
Yeah.
It's basically saying, don't idolize things like the pure reliability of this 80s computer, right? I mean, it is a beige computer, and it's like got green text on it.
Big beige computer.
Yes. So it's not exactly the most advanced thing, but it is advanced for the time, and it's able to do like very complex.
It was able to do like a lot of stuff from what I saw. It was able to do like predict the weather, predict the weather.
It was able to,
I think there was like sports something like, or like scores or something.
I think what they did is it was partially that. It was also like computing speed calculations, and they entered in the schedule of Pavel's mother, who was like off on a business trip, and they were able to figure out what she was doing throughout the day based off of the clock and the calculations between those things.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you remember that part specifically, but
vaguely. I got to that part. Okay. I remember. Yeah.
Vague. Okay. Fair enough. But yes, it is. Point is that it's a very advanced computer, and the father trusts it a lot, so much that he uses it as the basis of letting his son go out ice skating. And when he hears that the ice has broken, you can imagine that he's not exactly happy about that. But I won't tell you exactly what happens after he hears the ice has broken, because it sounds like you got up to that part, but you haven't seen where it ends. So I'll leave that up to your imagination until you actually watch it. I'll just say that the rest of it is still very good at communicating that central point of do not idolize things either above God, or just don't idolize things in general.
Yeah.
I feel like this show could be really good, can be really good, whether you're religious or not. The idea of do not do this thing is always communicated effectively. And this one, do not idolize stuff, is really well communicated. So with that being said, that is Dekalog 1. We're making good time so far. We're going to move on to Dekalog 2, which, I don't know, was each episode covered in that 20-minute video that you watched?
Vaguely. Just like, they kind of did like a surface overview. Like, episode 1 is about this, episode 2 is about this, episode 3, this.
Is that like in context of the 10 Commandments?
Yes.
Context. Oh, it doesn't even give away like plot details or anything?
A little.
Okay.
And it's like, it was like, oh, this person does this thing. Right. And it represents the commandment, do not steal.
Right.
And that, yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like I'm kind of repeating the stuff that was already said.
A little.
Yeah. I'll try to, I'll just try to like communicate specific things to you about like emotions that I felt while watching it. Because video essayists on YouTube tend to be really bad at that kind of
bad,
very bad at it. They're just like, this is about the artistry. And I'm just like, shut up. Media is an emotional experience. And Dekalog 2 from 1990 is a very good example of that, because the emotional experience was very heavy, despite the commandment not exactly lining up all that well. In fact, I felt confusion over that, because the second commandment is, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, which is, don't swear in the name of the Lord. Kind of a basic idea. People tend to understand it if you spell it out like that for them, which is, don't say beaver dam or something like that. But it doesn't really apply to the plot line. I don't know how this one connects. I only have like a theory of how it could intertwine, but essentially, basic plot summary is it's about a doctor that lives underneath the woman Dorota in that brutalist architecture communist block apartment, right?
Yep.
So downstairs from her is this doctor who runs a hospital ward. Dorota has a husband, and that husband is in the doctor's hospital ward. And she wants to know if her husband is going to die. So she starts pestering the doctor that lives below her. Because they live in the same apartment, might as well try it. The doctor does not give her a very clear answer, and there's a big reason that she's asking for it. Let me know if you want me to stop with spoilers at all, but this isn't exactly a spoiler. It's just kind of actually a good setup to show you where this ends up going. Essentially, Dorota is pregnant, but it's not from her husband, and I suppose mortality of the child depends on the mortality of her husband. If her husband dies, she plans to get rid of the child. And if her husband dies, then she will not get rid of the child. So it's kind of an either or situation. Again, I don't know if that's spoilers or if you already knew that part of it.
I already knew that, yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you right now, the ending threw me for a loop as to what it accomplished. I was expecting it to go one way or the other, and I was pleasantly surprised and unpleasantly surprised. So I'm just going to leave that there and say that's where it went. In terms of the commandment, now we can kind of move past possible spoiler warnings. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this episode being about, like, don't take the name of the Lord thy God in vain? Like, what?
I don't really see how that, like, fits together.
No.
It's more of like a moral dilemma.
Yeah.
In a way of either I lose my husband and I lose my child, or I don't lose my husband and child.
Oh,
or other way around.
Yeah. It's in, like, if I lose my husband, I don't lose the child. If I don't lose my husband, I lose the child.
Yes.
Right. And that you're right. It is a moral dilemma, and it also ties better into the do not commit adultery commandment or the do not cover thy neighbor's wife commandments. Like, those two seem to be more connected to this one. The only idea I have, this is not a spoiler, this is just a basic detail. To my memory, the doctor in this episode is never given an actual name. So I could see that as being what they were going for. I have no confirmation, but that could be what it is, which is interesting to look at it. Do you remember what this video essay you watched called?
It was called, like, Movies with Thomas or something like that. And it was this bald guy who he was like a professor of some kind.
Right.
Like I think he said psychology professor or something.
That would line up.
Yeah. And he was talking about all of that. So,
I meant more so, what did he say about this episode?
He didn't really talk about this episode that much, to be fair. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've cornered you, Thomas. No. I don't know. Do you think I'm barking up any tree there with the theory at least, or is it just...
I honestly just don't see how it, like, links up.
Yeah. And that's very similar to what I'm thinking as well. And I've watched it. So either I'm not smart enough or it's a bit too pretentious for my liking.
Yeah.
So I think it's in our best interest to move on to Dekalog 3. We'll do that. Dekalog 3 from 1990 as well. This is going a lot better than the first attempt. I'm glad for that. This one, I will say, is a bit better connected to its commandment. The third commandment in the Roman Catholic version is remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, which means in general, Sunday tends to be the holy day, which is the day of rest. It kind of depends on the denomination, of course, but Sunday tends to be the most often used day of rest, right?
Yeah.
So, to my surprise, they kind of accentuated it a little bit with this episode. The plot of it is surrounding Eva and Janusz. I believe that's how you say his name. It's spelled Janus with a Z after the S, right?
Yeah.
So, again, Polish.
I'd assume sounds right. I'm not Polish, but
neither
sounds
am I.
Right enough.
I think, right enough for now. So Janusz and Eva were two people who had an affair 3 years before the events of the episode. Over the course of the episode, they end up going around pretty much all of Warsaw throughout the night, trying to find Eva's husband, Edvard. Over the course of the night, it is revealed that Eva is lying, or at least it's thought that she is lying to simply keep Janusz with her the entire night. Janusz. It's at least thought. I mean, in the first 20 minutes, it shows her parking her car and then like walking, going, "I've lost my car." So that's not really a spoiler.
No.
Which is, it's interesting to bring up that point because it didn't make me really like Ava all that much, if you could imagine.
Yeah.
It didn't really make me root for her. And one thing I've found with pretty much almost all of Kozlowski's work is it requires patience. Dekalog is no different. This director has directed the Three Colors trilogy, which I talked about 2 weeks ago on What to Watch Wednesdays, which was going to be this was going to be the follow-up to that. This is still kind of the spiritual follow-up to that. The point I'm getting at is the work I've seen from this director requires patience.
Yeah.
Right? It requires you to like stick around and kind of see where it's going eventually.
Yeah. I know the word slow burn gets thrown around as a dumb meme, but this is like
it's
textbook definition of slow burn.
Yes. And I'm fine with people calling Kozlowski's work a slow burn, is what I'm going to say about that. It's not the pretentious way of it's just slow for the sake of no reason. There is a reason behind pretty much all of it. So I tend to kind of give him a pass on it.
Yeah.
I'll say this just to avoid spoilers for you. By the end of this episode, I didn't hate Ava anymore. That's what you need to know.
All right.
If you still hate her by the end of it, then maybe it didn't do a perfect job. I will admit, to my memory, I ranked this as either the worst or the second worst of the series. And that's in context of it still being part of Dekalog and still being very good as a piece of media that you can watch and enjoy and very artistic. But it was either this one or episode 2 was the weakest one. I think I decided on episode 2, but I originally ranked this as like the lowest one. So just keep that in mind.
All right. That's fair.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll at least give it this. The commandment being about the Sabbath makes sense in the context of the episode, because one detail I didn't mention, which you may already know, is this whole adventure takes place during Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
So if you want like an example of a holy day that isn't just Sunday, Christmas is a pretty good example of it. You can't go wrong with choosing Christmas, even though there's always those claims of like Jesus wasn't born on Christmas. It's like it's celebrated as the day he was born. You might as well go with it. And if they're going off of the Catholic thing, especially, then they can't. Not to bash anything. It's just factually speaking, if they're going off of the Catholic interpretation, you can't have it be on the first day of Hanukkah, factually speaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So props to them. Now that we've gotten through the first 3 episodes of Dekalog, I think it's time we take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll cover the next 3 episodes so that we can kind of keep a good pace. Does that sound good to you?
Yep.
Right. Well, thank you all for listening thus far, and we will be back very soon. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, the host of What to Watch Weekends, joined by Walter. Hello.
Hi, guys. I'm Walter.
Hello, Walter. We've said your name 3 times over this.
What, 4 times?
4. Speaking of 4, we're going to be jumping back into Dekalog for the night, which will be starting up with Dekalog 4. Wow. Wonderful segue as always. So, on to Dekalog 4, which is concerning the 4th of the 10 commandments, which is honor thy father and thy father. I wrote that incorrectly. It is honor thy father.
Father and mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't change that. Oopsies. But it does kind of apply because it's just about a father in the context of this episode. But at any rate, you know the basic gist of it. Respect and love your parents, but also respect authority in general, et cetera,
Respect the elders, respect authority. I can make a Cartman joke here, but that would be in poor taste. But
yeah, let's not. So, as for the plot line of this episode, I don't know, are you familiar with the basic a premise of it?
The premise, and that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll voice out the premise here for a second. And I'll say it is concerning a girl by the name of Anka, who is a drama student who's going to like a theater college. And she finds a letter from her mother, who has passed away, and the letter itself says, "To be opened after my death." When her father is away on a business trip, Anka opens the letter, reads it, and finds out a rather horrifying truth about her father. Do you know what that truth is at all, or no?
I do not. No.
Okay.
I literally, that's all I know about this episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she finds a letter and finds out an unfortunate truth. Let me say it this way, then. This is ladies and gentlemen of the audience, this is a prone opportunity for me to possibly spoil this for you and for Walter. I'm not going to take advantage of that situation because I want you all, would highly recommend you all go watch these episodes and experience what she finds out for yourselves. That extends to Walter here as well.
Yep.
So, while I will not spoil anything, I will say that there is a very delicate balance in between the revelation that Anka has and the effects of that revelation. Things could have gone so much worse, and they thankfully don't go to places that you don't want them to go, right? Mm-hmm. They don't. It's never a problem. And I will say that this is a very good reflection of the commandment. Again, just keep in mind that the first episode is a very creative way of showing don't idolize things. So this is a very creative way of showing don't honor your father and mother.
Yeah.
Right? So just keep that in mind. If you have the trust of the episodes, then you'll definitely get something out of episode 4. I will say, after the kind of letdown that was episode 3, I was surprised that this was like the episode that really got me back in. This one is really well paced, really well constructed, and as just a basic plot-driven story, it's a really good episode of the show. I think it's one of the best. So keep that in mind. So, did I do a good enough job at skirting around the spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay.
You made me like want to go and watch that episode now. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Very glad. Very glad. So with that being said, we will now move on to Dekalog 5, which I don't know if you've heard about this one at all.
So this is the one that was also an episode, and it was also like reworked into like a full length film.
Yeah, we'll get to that. You are right though. So Dekalog 5 is concerning the commandment "Thou shalt not kill," which is short term means don't kill someone. Wow, I know.
Yeah.
What a revelation. But yes, Dekalog 5 was reworked into the hour-and-a-half movie called A Short Film About Killing after the episode came out, right? So you are right. That is one of the things that is on the Criterion channel is a short film about killing. Again, hour and a half long versus the episode, which is about, I think, an hour and 1 minute. So it's not like a massive expansion of it, but it is reworked into an actual movie length. And I can't imagine what all they could really cut out. I think they just added stuff in instead because it's like, what are you going to cut out of here?
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, it's just that, yes. And they did it with another episode, but that'll be a bit later. So in order for us to at least cover the basic plot summary of Dekalog 5, we follow Yatsik, I believe that is his name, a young man after he ends up killing a taxi driver.
Yeah.
Did you know that part at least?
Yeah, I knew that part.
Okay.
I knew was he the lawyer?
No.
Okay.
So after Yatsik kills a taxi driver, he then spends time talking to his lawyer by the name of Baliki. and the rest of it is kind of about their interplay. They have very interesting conversations and a kind of found friendship question mark.
I know, like, this video I watched talked about how Yatsik, the guy who killed the taxi driver because the taxi driver, he was just a gross guy, right?
Yes and no. Kind of, but also Yatsik he's not like some moral high grounder.
Yeah.
He just kind of did it for no reason and because he could.
Yeah.
That
too.
Yes. I don't exactly remember that detail about it. If anything, I remember Yatsik just kind of doing it for no reason, unmotivated, which didn't really make him a very sympathetic character. And then it messed with my mind during the last half of the episode because I'm like, why am I about to cry when this guy who killed a taxi driver has now become like a super sympathetic figure in my eyes? What? I wouldn't exactly tell you how, but I will tell you that is how I felt near the end of this.
Yeah.
It was a ride by the end of it. I mean, I
haven't been spoiled, but I know it sort of ends on like his trial, his murder trial.
Yes.
And that's how the episode ends, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, that should give you a kind of idea of where it's going, essentially. But I'll kind of highlight some big things about Dekalog 5 that make it one of my favorites of the series. Again, I like a lot of these episodes, but this one is really good because I could see why it was made into its own movie, right? It has a very green tint to everything. All of the stuff in the other episodes is like kind of sterile and white, you know?
Yeah.
This one, it's a lot wider and it's not like boxed in with the two black bars on the sides for like 4:3 television.
Yep.
It feels a lot more cinematic and it's also got a lot of vignetting, right? You know, those like those black shadows that surround the edges of a frame. It's the first time I've ever seen vignettes used to like block off parts of the screen and force the audience to look at this specific part of the screen. Very creative idea there. And I hear that was all on the cinematographer for the episode. I don't remember his name, but I'll give props to Kozlowski for always hiring some of the best cinematographers in the trade. They're always really good. The other thing, I will say, it's just kind of like a small footnote, but if they were going to add anything to this episode to make it into a movie, they may have added in how Yatsik ends up getting caught because they don't show that.
Have you seen the movie? Like,
I haven't.
Okay.
Unfortunately. I should have, but I've been so busy with a lot of other stuff that I have at least watched the episode, and I have the movie version on that box set that I have, but I didn't consider it to be like super important to watch it before talking about this because the show itself is such a big project of covering that if I threw in this extended version and the other extended version, it'd be a lot longer.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my logic, at least, which is a dumb excuse, I'll admit, but does it at least make some sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I'll have to say about that. I'll also say it's a very simple idea because, again, Yatsik kills a taxi driver. Commandment, don't murder. He murders somebody. Okay. Cool. It's not as creative as the others, but it's like, how are you going to creatively show do not murder, right?
Right.
Like with don't idolize something, you can have like, it can go in so many different directions. With like, don't take the name in vain, it can go in so many different directions. With even the Sabbath, they were able to be like creative, and for like honor your father and mother, it can be creative. The do not kill, it's just like, what are you going to have it be?
Yeah, how are you going to do that creatively?
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just be blunt with it, which is Dekalog 5's like biggest strength, is that out of all of these, it's the most blunt and to the point and kind of in your face about it, which it has to be. So I'll give it props for that. Moving on from Decalogue 5, we now have the other one that was expanded into a feature-length movie, which is Decalogue 6, which was later expanded into the movie A Short Film About Love. I don't know if you knew about that one.
I also saw about that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this one is concerning the commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, which means... frankly, don't cheat on your spouse, guys. That's a bad thing. Don't do that. Moving on. I will say again, they're actually able to be creative with this one. This one is weird.
Yeah.
Do you remember the basic idea?
A little. So it was. I don't remember the character's name. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Any of the characters' names in this episode.
No, it's fine.
But it was about this guy who's in love with this woman, and he kept like sabotaging the dates, right?
Okay, you're close.
Yeah.
I'll explain it here. This is about a 19-year-old by the name of Tomek who is spying on his neighbor Magda. He does end up sabotaging the dates sometimes by calling her apartment when she's in the middle of unfortunate relations with other people. We're going to put it that way. And he's basically spying on her. Basically, he is spying.
He is spying. He has like a telescope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very creepy. Now, when he is found out, he, of course, says the normal spying and stalker thing of like, oh, but I love you. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where I need to tread carefully, but I will stick to my guns. After he says that, her response is what makes this episode good. It doesn't go in the way you'd think it would go, and it certainly isn't in a way that is glorifying stalking or spying on people. Right? What?
What? Nothing. Yeah.
You're just kind of thinking?
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I want you to understand, Walter, that I don't condone stalking or spying whatsoever, and I don't think this episode condones spying or stalking whatsoever. I think Decalogue 6 is very good at presenting spying and stalking in a realistic manner, and the kind of unhinged people who do it as kind of a factual statement of life. And then at a certain turning point, it goes into sort of a, how do I say, fanciful yet very strange, not in a ideally happy, positive fantasy type of way, more like a partial nightmare infused fever dream type of way. Right?
Right.
So I'll give it props for that. It at least subverted my expectations and kept me hooked with the understanding of what am I supposed to feel here? And I'll give it this. I think I was supposed to feel confused, and I felt very confused. So, round of applause, Decalogue 6, I suppose. Again, yeah, disclaimer, yes, it's about a stalker and a spy, not as in a government-hired spy, as in a person who just spies on another person. But it's not condoning it.
Yeah. The video I watched did talk about this one quite a bit, and I don't know how much of it I can talk about.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm just trying to avoid that.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. It's certainly the most explicit.
Yeah.
Out of all the episodes. That should come as a warning as well. If you're not really privy to adult stuff, maybe sit out on this one. If you're not able to kind of handle a bit more of a complex take on this kind of stuff, especially with a lot more explicit elements, I wouldn't blame you for sitting out on it. I do think, though, that it is worth watching and worth sitting through, and you get something out of it by the end. So I'm not going to say that it's like it should be dismissed on that basis, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I've got to say about Decalogue 6. Oh, I should mention, as I said, she does have a lot of unfortunate relationships with other people. That's where it ties into the commandment of do not commit adultery, right?
Yeah.
Don't be all over. Try to stay committed to one person is the general moral idea behind that commandment. And that is portrayed in the episode. So now we've covered our bases and we can move on to our next break. When we are very close to the end of the first hour for What to Watch Weekends, but we will be back around 9 o'clock to continue with the second hour of the show, where we will cover the last 4 episodes of Dekalog. Yes, the last 4. I can't.
Last 4, yes.
I can't count. I can't count. I can't count, Walter. We'll be right.
Math is hard, guys.
What?
Math is hard.
Math is hard. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We'll be back. Stick around. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, the host of What to Watch Weekends, and I am joined by my guest tonight. If you would like to say hello.
Hello, guys. I am Walter.
I was half expecting you to just say, hello, guys, and then move on.
And then move on.
And then not say your name. That'd be funny. So, we are currently into the second hour of What to Watch Weekends, but we're not on the second thing that we've talked about for the night whatsoever. If anything, 2 + 5 is 7. The one time that I know how to do math correctly live on air, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We're talking about Dekalog 7 next. We've been talking about Dekalog all night, and so we're going to move on to Dekalog 7, which is the 7th episode of this 10-episode miniseries based on the 10 Commandments, a Polish TV show directed by the Polish director Krzysztof Kozlowski. And Dekalog 7 is centered around the basic idea of the 7th of the 10 Commandments, that being do not steal, which is, or thou shalt not steal, which means do not steal.
Do not steal, yeah.
Do not take what is not yours. We all know what stealing is. We learned about it in 2nd grade in theory, unless you didn't go to school. I don't know. But the basic idea, the basic premise of Dekalog 7, do you know, what all do you know about this one?
Very little.
Okay.
I know there's like 2 girls and they're like just graduating college or the university, something like that.
Whoa, that might be Dekalog 8, actually.
Okay.
So this one is about a girl named Mayika. Man, the one time I'm actually fudging the name so badly that I have to like say it 4 times in a row. Anyways, this is about a girl by the name of Mayika who has a daughter by the name of Anka. Right? And she had this daughter when she was in high school. She's a teenage mother. This is not spoilers. This is just the basic understanding. And she had it with her Polish teacher back in high school. Unfortunate. And his name was Wojtek. So Anka is now living with Micah. And Micah's mother, a woman by the name of Eva, has convinced Anka that she is Anka's mother. As in, Eva has convinced Anka that Eva is her mother. That her grandmother is her mother, essentially. Right?
Right.
Which gets into the basic idea of do not take what is not yours, do not steal. Now, what does Micah decide to do with this knowledge and information and with this situation she's in? What do you think she decides to do?
Flee the country.
Very close.
Yeah.
Yes, and also kidnap her own daughter. Rather unfortunate series of events there. Oopsie daisies. That's not fun. I'll admit it right now. Dekalog 7 was kind of painful. It kind of got me right in the belly button, as I like to say. Not for any specific reason. It's just kind of like an uncomfortable situation that gets compounded on until it's like, this is still uncomfortable, dude. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, of course, I personally believe that if a piece of media makes you feel uncomfortable, then it's doing its job right. Unless it's like painfully uncomfortable, and it's like, there's no value to this. A good piece of media that makes you feel uncomfortable can be artistic, right?
Right.
And this is the example of it being artistic. Happening for a reason and trying to communicate a point is better than no reason whatsoever. You know, it's not just random. It's not just a soap opera, right? Where they just throw drama at you and expect you to respond because you're a human being with emotions, right? They expect you to respond in a way that makes sense in context of the story. So it gets that achieved, at least. It's just not fun seeing two people fight over a small child. That's just not fun. That's never fun, especially when it's a mother and daughter relationship. I will say, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but I can't hold back this. And I feel like this will also be an interesting way to convince you to stick through this episode, because it is a difficult one to sit through. About as difficult as episode 6. And a lot of these are hard to sit through because it's not easy to kind of have patience. But sometimes the emotional baggage of these episodes is just not easy to handle. And this one is probably the one that's the most difficult. So I'll say this about episode 7. At the beginning of the episode, like me, you will probably be wanting Micah to be able to raise Anka, her child, as her own child. You don't want her to go back to her grandmother, Ava, and be raised by Ava, where Ava has convinced Anka that she is Anka's mother. Yes?
Yeah.
By the end of the episode, you don't really want that anymore. I won't explain how. I won't explain why. But I can tell you for a definite fact that by the end of Dekalog 7, I was like, I don't think I want that anymore. I'm actually quite sure that I don't want that anymore. That's an interesting turn of events, for sure. So just keep that in mind, right?
What? I thought of something, but as I was going to say it, I lost it. So one of those moments.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But does that give you kind of a tease?
Yeah.
Good. We'll keep it there. I will say, so far, Decalogue 7, like compared to the rest of them, I think Decalogue 7 is the best written because it's able to manage such a complex idea with the right level of dignity, grace, and emotional intelligence. Like, 5 is the best, is really good overall, which is the one about do not murder. But 7 is like, it takes the idea of do not steal and elevates it to a very high degree that you kind of have to have an emotional intelligence to really understand it, right?
Yeah.
And it's very complex to unpack and watch, and the one that kind of sticks with you the most after you've seen it. So from that perspective, I think it's the best written one, right?
Right.
So it's got that going for it. With all that being said, we should move in to Dekalog 8. This one is kind of interesting. I would consider it to be the kind of third worst, quote unquote, of the series. But Dekalog 8 is about the 8th of the Ten Commandments, which is, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which is, do not lie to someone or about someone. Pretty simple idea. Don't lie. This one's kind of heavy on the plot. So do you know about this one, Walter?
This is the one about the Holocaust survivors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is about two women. One of them is named Zofia, and the other is named Elizabeta. Zofia is an ethics professor who was in Poland during World War II. She is a Catholic. Elizabeta is from the States, and she is Jewish. Back in the States, she runs a foundation where she finds out what happened to the Jews involved in the Holocaust and World War II. Because Zofia teaches ethics, and because Elizabeta is from the States and is doing an abroad program, she sits in on Zofia's ethics class, right?
Right.
And the ethics class is structured around the students pitching a ethical conundrum to the class and asking the class to share their opinions on it, right?
Yeah.
So Elisabetta, sitting in on Sophia's class, pitches this hypothetical about a young Jewish girl in German-occupied Poland. I believe Germany did occupy Poland during World War II, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in German-occupied Poland, a young Jewish girl and her family were supposed to meet up with this Catholic husband and wife. And the Catholic husband and wife were supposed to take this young Jewish girl in and protect her from the many Germans out on the streets. The result was unfortunate because that did not play out. Keep in mind that Elisabetta is posing this as a hypothetical to Sophia, and it doesn't exactly make Sophia very happy because this is supposed to be a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Rather unfortunately, it's not a hypothetical.
Yes.
What I'll say about Dekalog 8 is it's not weak by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, you look like you're about to say something.
Well, I was going to say literally that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It what?
That it's
What?
the Jewish woman put up the hypothetical
Yeah.
only for it to be that's what actually happened.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, to be fair, one of the students in the class actually says a hypothetical that is just the plot of Dekalog 2. I'm not even kidding. That's really funny to me.
Yeah.
Because they just list off the plot of Dekalog 2 as a hypothetical ethical conundrum on the part of the doctor, right? Like, oh, if the husband survives, then the child will be gone. But if the husband dies, the child will be allowed to live, right?
Right.
So that student proposes that as the hypothetical. So it's very clear that they don't really pose hypothetical. They just pose ethical conundrums, and the intention was for it to be hypothetical.
Yeah.
So you are right. That's a good point. I'm glad you actually brought that up because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to ever bring that up ever again. So many thanks to you, Walter, for inadvertently causing that. At any rate, Dekalog 8 is very dialogue heavy. It relies on a lot of talking to get through it. Not really. It's kind of like, have you heard of My Dinner with Andre?
I have.
You're familiar that it's like basically just about two guys talking.
I literally watched that movie like a month ago. So
okay.
yeah.
For those of you unfamiliar, My Dinner with Andre is about two people who meet for dinner and then they just talk the entire time.
That's the whole movie.
It's a good movie. I love the movie.
Yeah.
I love it. But it is just two guys talking. And Dekalog 8 is very similar to that in that it's just two women talking in different locations throughout the course of a day. And you have to kind of imagine a lot of the situations that they talk about. There's only one bit at the beginning that shows any detail, and it's very, very limited. So just keep that in mind going into it. It's not weak for that reason. It's just kind of different from most of them. It's kind of the slower one that is still emotionally heavy, but not very, I suppose, heavy on the actions, right? It's just kind of like more of the words speak louder than actions route, which is an interesting route to take. I will say it is at least centered around a specific lie or a lie someone has told themselves to hinge on being about that commandment, do not lie. And it is attempting to reconcile that lie where the story comes from. I don't know if that was grammatically correct, but you get the idea.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's about the reconciliation of the lie as its backbone. So that's Dekalog 8. Moving on from that, we have Dekalog 9, which is centered around the commandment, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, which is, do not hold impure thoughts about someone's spouse. Shocker. It's like, don't cheat on your wife or your spouse, but like, don't want to cheat on your spouse with someone else's spouse.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it should be obvious, but at the same time, it's good to kind of just set that out as a rule. People are stupid. That's what we need to know. Let me ask before we jump into it, Walter. What are you thinking so far?
So this is the one where I don't really know how I describe this one, but it's the husband. He found out his wife was having an affair with another person.
Yes.
After he became
he found out he was unable to have children with his wife.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, that's what this one is. And that's the basic idea. The man is Dr. Romek and his wife is Hania. After Romek finds out he can't have children with his wife, he actually kind of encourages her to go find someone else to have an affair with. And she kind of sticks to her guns for the first bit, going, no, I love you. I'm not going to go do that. And then she does, which, unfortunate, understandable, have a great day. It's a very strange situation because I went into this one expecting it to be the weakest. I'm going to be fully honest with you. It felt so far removed from most of the stuff that had happened so far. As Dekalog 9 went on, I got really invested in this one. This one is the one that kind of like gets you the most riled up.
Yes.
It's the one that really gets at your heartstrings really badly. And I should say, in case I spoil anything, I'll just say right now that the reason this is about do not covet your neighbor's wife is because Hania decides to have an affair with this physics student who very clearly is young and stupid and develops feelings for this one-night stand woman. And that's where the do not covet your neighbor's wife comes from.
Yes.
So that's the basic idea.
I know the video I watched talked about the ending of this episode.
Yeah.
And how just intense it was.
Yes.
So
yes.
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah.
Do you know how it ends?
Yeah.
I do too, because I saw it. For those of you in the audience, I will not tell you how it ends. But I don't remember exactly. I think this one was like, it's comparable to how I was like nearly bawling near the end of Schindler's List, right? This is like the most recent example aside from Schindler's List that I can think of where I was like this close to just bawling my eyes out. Which, great. Wonderful. It is heavy. It's very good at it though. That's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how you know these kinds of things are good. Let me see here. I describe it like this. I describe it as a gut punch, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
A total gut punch. And I was expecting it to, I was honestly like prepping myself for it to go even worse than it ended up going. I was expecting it to like completely fold in on itself and get a worse ending than what ended up actually happening. So, yeah, that's the state I was in while watching this. Good to know. Good to note. Dekalog 9. Absolutely wonderful. I know we should be going to a break soon, but I think we can actually get through Dekalog 10 and then just kind of spend the last bit of the show talking about Dekalog as a whole. So I think we're going to do that.
All right.
We'll do that. Let's cover Dekalog 9, and then we'll go to break. So, are you familiar with Dekalog 10?
Yes. It was two brothers, and they inherit, is it a stamp collection?
Stamp collection.
Yes. They inherit the stamp collection. They find out it's super valuable.
Uh-huh.
And
yes.
Commandment number 10 is...
Do not covet your neighbor's goods.
Okay.
Which is, do not desire the stuff your friends or other people have. Be happy with what you have. Do not covet. Do not desire things. Do not be greedy. Do not be jealous of the things that your friends and your family members possess. Basic idea, I mean, pretty good, all things considered, for it being about a stamp collection.
Yeah.
So this one, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Dekalog 10 is my cleanser. Dekalog 10 is really funny.
I was told this one gets pretty goofy at times.
Yes.
Yeah.
It gets so very goofy. So the thing to keep in mind is that the two brothers, one of them is this normal guy named Yerrick, who has a son and a wife, and a very normal life. The other is Artur, who is a punk rock superstar from Poland, who just gets up on stage and literally sings songs about coveting stuff. I'm not even kidding. It's hilarious. I should mention that Artur is played by Zbigniew Zamachowski. How did I pronounce that at all? That is surprising. I want to tell you right now that the other project I've seen directed by Krzysztof Kozlowski is the Three Colors trilogy, right? And the second movie in that trilogy is Three Colors White, okay?
Yeah.
So Three Colors White is about this man by the name of Karol. He's Polish, and his wife divorces him because they cannot have children together. His Dominique, his French wife, divorces him. He goes back to Poland and plots his revenge. It's the weakest of the three. But when I rewatched Three Colors White for my review of the Three Colors trilogy, I realized something, which is that I love the actor Zbigniew Zamachowski. Yes, he's cartoony, he's goofy, he's crazy, right?
Right.
Very expressive, almost like a Charlie Chaplin. So let me tell you right now how happy I was that Zbigniew Zamachowski is the punk rock
guy.
The punk rock guy.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so funny. It's hilarious. I love that role. I love this actor, and I think they work together perfectly. Carries the episode for me. I will say, though, just as like a small teaser of what this episode really entails about not coveting stuff. Hey, Walter, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What's the most reasonable thing you could think someone would have to do in order to gain access to a stamp?
Well,
would you expect like money to be paid? Like an absurd amount of money to be paid? Like you need to make sure that the person is not going to scam you. You need like receipts.
Make sure like they're like authentic.
Yeah. Like sign a contract.
Yeah.
Like have your lawyer show up, especially if it's like possessions inherited from a will.
Yeah.
Dekalog 10, part of the plot revolves around Artur and what's his name? Yarek finding a black market dealer for stamps. And he tells them that they need to give him the results of a blood test to gain access to a stamp.
A stamp collection.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
One stamp.
One stamp.
Yes.
What's your blood type? So we can give you access to a stamp. Forget it being a little silly. Let me tell you right now, Dekalog 10 leans into almost absurdism at times with something like that as the premise. And I'm here for it. Honestly, the best thing I can tell you about Dekalog 10 is Dekalog 1 through 9 is about morality, about human experience. It's about family. It's about religion. It's about ideological disputes, about hypothetical ideas of what constitutes the right ethical choice, right?
Right.
That's some of the big ideas of the series. And Dekalog 10 hits all of those points while still being a goofy story about two brothers trying to get stamps. If that's not a good pitch for the entire show, I don't know what is. If the episode's about stamps, it's still going to be deep and philosophical, okay? That's what you need to know about Dekalog. And there's so much more to talk about with Dekalog. There's a few more things that we should bring up. But we're going to go to break now. And when we come back, we will close out the show doing kind of a recap on Dekalog. So stick around for that. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome to What to Watch Weekends. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. Cord.
Yep.
You flipped a cord. That was a loud noise. I heard it through the headphones. So welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. This will be the last little segment here on the show. With me, Nathan, I was about to call myself the co-host, the host of What to Watch Weekends, and my guest for tonight, Walter.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Walter.
Walter. You said don't. I wasn't going to do it this time. Just say hi and not introduce myself.
Dang it. I messed it up. I'm a failure. No. So, we have spent the entire night talking about the 10-episode Polish TV show Dekalog, which is a Polish TV series based around the 10 Commandments, directed by Krzysztof Kozlowski. In order to close out the show tonight, because it's a 10-episode miniseries and that's 10 hours of content, because each episode's about an hour, it makes sense to do a wrap-up, a sort of overall overview of the show.
Yeah.
And to just kind of give overall opinions on it, because otherwise it's like, oh, we're just ending with 10. What's the point of not giving a recap? Might as well make the conclusion to this essay of ours. We're not making a video essay. We're doing a radio show. Same difference. So, overall thoughts on Dekalog. First off, I haven't mentioned this at all, but have you heard the music from this show?
I have not, but I've been told it's like really good.
It is. It's very goo. Very goo. I was
Very goo.
Very goo. Here, let me look something up really quickly. The Dekalog soundtrack was composed by the same guy who made the music for the Three Colors trilogy. So for my regular listeners who heard me talk about the really good music for Three Colors Blue, just keep that in mind that these are the music is on that same level, which I really appreciate. Music by, oh man, there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce this correctly. Zbigniew Preisner is his name. He has won certain awards. He did Three Colors Blue and Three Colors Red. Both of those ended up winning awards. And he did all of the music for Dekalog. It's this very piano-centric piece that kind of permeates throughout each episode. If you remember the music from Dekalog 1 at all, Walter,
yeah,
then it's that, and it gets better as it goes on.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. I will say each episode opens with like kind of a title card, which is like this TV network presents by this company by Krzysztof Kozlowski, and it plays a couple notes, and it's always the same for that part, but it tends to change up with each episode. Dekalog 1 and 9 are the only two that kind of incorporate that main theme into it the entire way through. So those are the ones that obviously have the best soundtrack, if I'm being completely honest with you. But yes, music is good. Acting is also generally very good. A lot of the performances hit the right notes, they hit the right beats, from the comedic ones to the serious ones. A lot of people brought out their best acting chops for this gig. Even the ones for the characters you don't really like say Ava from Dekalog 3, I will admit she was performed well. It's just like I didn't like the character, which is understandable. You're not supposed to like her. So it's about the effectiveness of, is the actor doing a bad job? No. Is the writing bad? No. It's written intentionally for you to not like this person, so you don't like this person. Right?
Right.
I will say, as a minor complaint for Dekalog, the sound design itself, the noises themselves, the sounds, are good. The problem is that sometimes they're a bit delayed and don't exactly line up with the stuff going on. It's kind of like it's like a noticeable delay in footsteps, or like just one person's footsteps being heard. That's kind of this weird cognitive dissonance of, it's not bad because they sound good, but they're just not synced up all that well.
Right.
Which can be kind of seen as a product of the time, because it's always like, you're not working with computers. It's still from 89 to 90. So they were most likely shooting it on traditional film stock and having to do like syncing it up with like an actual audio tape or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, Not perfection isn't expected, but it's noticeable enough times where I feel like
I just looked it up, and according to Wikipedia, each episode had a budget of about $10,000.
that is not a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know how TV works. I just know that the first episode of Lost was like a $4 million budget.
Yeah.
And that's what they were able to do with it. And then like the rest of the season looked like it was made off of a $5K budget an episode. But yeah, I think that does make sense. You have to cut a corner somewhere. You have to make sure you have to allocate budget. And so that does make sense. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think it's worth it because it's very clear that most of that budget went toward the cinematographers. I haven't mentioned really, but to my knowledge, each episode had a different cinematographer, except for 2 and 10 having the same cinematographer. So each episode was a completely different style, but still artistic. Phone down. I think that really helped it feel both fresh but consistent at the same time. Because the really high level cinematographers are usually going to do very creative things with their shot design, but they're still going to probably work together, or they're going to try to emulate what came before them if it's in the context of episodes of a TV show. So it's not too much of a problem, more so of just an interesting way of looking at it. Each one has its own distinct feel while still being in the same series. Right. Yeah.
I was going to say that each cinematographer, I can't speak, cinematographer,
yes.
Each one does their own thing.
Yeah.
And you can see it in, the cinema.
Yes.
But
yes.
you can see they each put their own spin. Like, I was looking at screenshots of each episode just so I could get a feel of, like, the environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and you notice that it's like episode 5 is probably the most drastic shift, but even episode 6 is a bit different. Episode 5 being like the don't kill episode. That one is like a lot different.
Yeah.
But it still fits because, again, it's at least the taxi driver that Yatsik kills lives in that apartment building. Again, that central communist bloc apartment building in Poland. So it has that going for it to kind of tie it all together. I never really got bored watching Dekalog. I was expecting to get bored. I was fully expecting to be bored because from the way we've described it, it sounds like this like earth-shattering show. Or I don't know if we have described it like that.
Yeah. In a way, I'm assuming you've seen Black Mirror.
I've heard of it, familiar with it, and know of a lot of the high concept stuff.
In a way it's being described to me reminds me a lot of Black Mirror and how it's normal people being put into, ethical and moral dilemmas over technology and family and personal experiences, that kind of stuff.
It's less on technology. That's only but yes,
you know what I mean.
Your point,
yeah.
Yes, I do. Your point is valid, and it is true. That is exactly the way to think of Dekalog. I would say that consistently, since it's only 10 episodes, I know aren't there like certain episodes of Black Mirror that aren't as good as the others. Obviously,
some of them are terrible.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all of them, and I know like there was a more recent series that came out fairly recently that I just haven't even bothered. So
Secret Level, maybe?
I think so.
It's the one about video games, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Dekalog, from my perspective, even the weakest episode, which is episode 2, is not boring, more so as it is, it feels a bit disconnected from its central idea, right?
Yeah.
The whole, don't take the name of the Lord in vain. Like, how does that tie into the plot line of that episode? But I could still reason and say, maybe this is why. And the fact that I was able to go, maybe this is why, and I felt compelled to say, maybe this is why, speaks to it being still a good piece of media, right? Like if I'm willing to dig deeper, that means it affected me in a way that I'm willing to give it the time of day, which is always a good sign when talking about media, you know?
Yeah.
And so even the weakest episode has something to it. It has something that it can teach you. It has something that it can show you, and it has a valuable experience hidden under its hood. Overall, that kind of applies to the best episodes of the show, which are really, really good. And it just kind of means that the worst episodes suddenly start to feel a lot worse, because the best episodes are like some of the best pieces of TV I've seen.
Yeah.
Ever. Keep in mind. They're more like movies. Each episode is about an hour long. And so it's more like a series of 10 movies.
Yep.
But if I had to narrow it down to being called 10 movies, then I'll still say it's the best series of movies I've seen. And it's not even like my favorite, because I like Godzilla too much. But I will admit, objectively speaking, probably one of the best. Which is why it annoys me that I think here's a funny way. Before we go into my rankings for the episodes, I want to share with you a very funny story, Walter.
Yeah.
If you're willing to hear a very funny story. So when I found out about Dekalog, I was browsing through the catalog of the Criterion Collection. Are you familiar with the Criterion Collection at all?
A little. I know, I've heard of it. I know that's where a lot of like artsier movies go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Criterion is essentially a distributor that brings in a lot of international movies, a lot of well-known kind of big profile movies that were significant to the art of cinema. And they give you these very high level collector's editions of the movies. They give you like interviews with the director. It's a lot of fun. And when I bought Dekalog off of Criterion, I did a smart thing, and I bought both the DVD version and the Blu-ray version and had them shipped to my freshman college dorm when I did not have a Blu-ray player at all. And I bought the Blu-ray by accident.
Aw.
You want to know how much these cost? $80.
Oh.
So I've spent $160, $160 dues on two versions of the same dang show.
Oh.
Yeah, as a freshman in college.
Dang. Ouch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oof. Roblox oof sound effect. Ooh.
Yeah.
So I mailed back the Blu-ray version, and then during winter quarter of my freshman year, I got a Blu-ray player. So I should have just kept it, but this is not even the funniest part. In my infinite wisdom as a human being, I didn't really sit through the Dekalog show until recently.
Nice.
I watched through episode 1 maybe once as a freshman, then it sat in my collection, and I never went back to them. Watching them back last Sunday, and this is something that I haven't shared with the audience quite yet, but the way I talked about Dekalog on Sunday of last week was not ideal. I watched episodes 3 through 9 all on Sunday after morning and afternoon. And when I walked into the station to do that episode of What to Watch Weekends, I was watching episode 10. So keep that in mind. I was so mad at myself, both for not portioning it out correctly and for not going back to it when I really wanted to. Because it's been a week, man. And I'm still remembering all of these episodes like perfectly. Like I can't get some of this out of my head. I'm so annoyed at myself for rushing through it because Dekalog is one of the few TV shows where when you get to the end of it, you're like, dang it, I thought it was just starting.
Yeah.
I want more of this. Why didn't they make any more? This show is so good. And it's only 10 episodes. Some of the best shows out there, some of the most underrated things out there have at least 20. And this was only 10. And they never wanted to do more than 10. Why? I am angry at myself. I'm angry at the world. And I'm angry at many things. Not really. I'm just kind of annoyed, which I feel is reasonable, you know? I'm annoyed that the show is so good. Dekalog. It'll annoy you at how good it is. That's the blurb. That should be its official marketing statement. At any rate, I'm surprised that Dekalog is 35 years old at this point. It's crazy to me. And I have to ask you the ultimate question, Walter. Are you interested in finishing all of Dekalog?
Oh, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad, because that was my goal with this review. If I've convinced, and that goes for the audience as well, I'd like to ask, have I convinced you to watch Dekalog whatsoever? If I have, could you please text in your answer to 509-963-2311? That'd be great. I would love to hear your opinion on it. That's again, 509-963-2311. To close out the episode, I'm just going to go through my basic ranking of the Dekalog episodes. Number 1 is Dekalog 5. Number 2, Dekalog 4. Number 3, Dekalog 9. Number 4, Dekalog 1. It's just like saying the top 10 numbers.
The S tier, the F tier. Yeah.
The number 5 on my list, Dekalog 6. Number 6 is Dekalog 10. Number 7 is Dekalog 7. That one is easy. Dekalog number 8, Dekalog 8. Number 9, Dekalog 3. And number 10, Dekalog 2. Thank you for being on the show tonight, Walter. Really fun having you on.
Thank you.
We'll hope to see you at some point in the future. Next week, I think, is going to be a funny weekend, so you may not be on, but I will be glad to have you on some other time.
Yep.
Always fun. And for those of you listening in, thanks for listening in to What to Watch Weekends. I will be back here on 88.1 The Burg next Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. I will be back, I believe it will be Sunday for What to Watch Weekends from 8 to 10 p.m. Follow What to Watch Wednesdays at What to Watch Wednesdays, all one word, no caps, no spaces, on both Instagram and YouTube, I'll be back next week telling you all what to watch. You have anything final to say, Walter?
No.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.